Today, John. Today, he helps people all over the place. But what was his life like before? That's today on Recovery Monday.
I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. That I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed.
Welcome. It's Recovery Monday on this 27th day of January in the Lord's year 2014. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Powell CDC Recovery Monday, where we come in and we tell people stories, or they tell their stories, and we talk about what life was like, what happened, and what their life is like now. And, of course, we have the beautiful Lila Stafford as my co-host, along with Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, who is watching our chat. If you're watching this online live, you can go to webcast1live.com. That's webcast, O-N-E, live.com, and there's a live chat there, and you can participate in the conversation through the chat, or you're welcome to call us at 244-0077. Ryan is producing. He'll answer the phone, and we'd love to have you on. Before we get started today, don't get mad at the weather guys on television, the weather guys and girls. I long time ago, I did TV weather before you had to be a meteorologist, and this whole thing moved like a cat in the night last night. And so when they told us on Saturday that we were going to get smacked, that's what the computer said. And then when they told us Sunday morning it was going to be 3 p.m., that's what the computer said. Just be thankful that we didn't get what we thought, because just 2-3 hours north of here was just horrible. So if you're returning home from a trip this weekend, glad to have you here. And you were home all weekend?
Yes.
You don't go to the lake during the winter, do you?
No, but some of my friends went because it was the University of Okoboji had winter games this weekend, and it was really cold. I think some cars went through the ice, though.
The University of Okoboji?
Yeah. Haven't you heard of that?
Is that an accredited school? 4-year,
No,
8-year law school?
It's a joke, but it's a
recovery
store.
group.
It's a recovery group. There you go. There you go. The University of Okoboji. No, I have heard of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You lake people live a whole life amongst yourself up there. You know, you really do. You and Jimmy going to buy Tom's house?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Did you see that online?
Yeah, most expensive house in Iowa.
Yeah.
Right? $14.9 million
Yeah.
on Lake Okoboji. What was it, like 9 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms?
Well, that was just one of the homes he has up there, because he had another one right near us that he first had, and the barn was just the playhouse for his child that he had painted like a kid's museum.
All right. Our guest today is John McInerney, and John is a Powell PRN, also a case manager for primary health care, and he is a Navy vet, which served in the deep, deep oceans of Idaho back when. And we welcome you. And as I'm looking on your Facebook, you had a wedding recently.
Yes, I did. I finally found somebody that wanted me.
Black suits and yellow ties.
Hawkeye fan all the way.
It was a neat wedding.
I thought it was. Now, why'd you have to go there?
Because,
I thought it was just because the colors were pretty. Anyway, your bride's a very pretty young lady.
Thank you.
And a whole group of people here.
The whole group, there's my daughters were in the wedding, and 2 of them are married, so they're sons, and my wife's son was my best man.
Oh, that's nice.
So
It's a very sweet wedding.
He was 8 years old at the time, and he's still my best man.
Oh, is that the little guy standing there? All right.
Yep.
All right.
Was he the one in the running race with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cute kid.
All right. And what does your wife do? Is she also involved in
She
recovery?
works with Nope, she's a normie.
I hate that term.
Yeah, I know, but she is. She's one of those. But she works in Story County and works with dependent adults.
Okay. All right. And I'll tell you why I hate, and you've heard this so many times, you can just snooze. But at about 7 or 8 months into this program, and, I was grooving. And I kept hearing this thing about the normies. Well, my wife's a normie. And the last thing my wife would ever do is a 4th step. And the last thing she'd ever do is an 8th and 9th. And I love my wife dearly. She's a great lady. We're the normal ones. We're the ones that confront our character defects and do what normal people do. We correct them. So why I think we should call them the weirdies. But anyway, it is what it is.
I don't think normal people do that kind of thing. I think only when you're in enough pain will you work as hard as we work.
But that's what a normal species does. When they're in trouble and they're backed into a corner and their back's up against the wall, they change. They figure out a way to grow out of it and change. Anyway, never mind. I'm not going to change 75 years.
Well, normal people probably already have all those tools that are in the 12 steps. We have to learn them.
I'll reserve comment on that later. All right, so where's home?
Home is in Ames. That's why I'm a Hawkeye fan.
Okay.
Oh, you mean like before?
Yeah,
as
born and
growing
raised.
up. Bakersfield, California.
Oh, wow. With Owen.
Buck Owens.
Buck Owens.
Yeah. Merle Haggard.
Earl Haggard.
Yep. Absolutely.
Wow.
I've sung at the Crystal Palace before and at Merle Haggard's house.
Yeah. Oh, really?
So, yep.
And who's the latest guy to come out of there?
Dwight Yoakam?
Yeah, Dwight Yoakam. That's right.
I don't know
shouldn't
why
say
I know
latest.
that, but-
Yeah, but you do.
You sang at the Crystal Palace?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be my dream.
Yeah.
That place. I love it.
Are you talking about the church?
No, it's
I'm talking
it's
about
Crystal Palace there in Bakersfield.
I'm talking about the church.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. I thought.
Yeah,
you were
I
talking.
thought that was
No.
You're
Okay.
talking about the
No, this
Crystal
is the big
Cathedral?
bar. That was when I
Oh.
wasn't. This is prior to recovery. So.
Okay.
Oh, that's a bar. Oh,
Well, it's a food. It's a nightclub basically.
Okay.
But
and so born and raised in Bakersfield. How
Right.
long were you there?
till I left there when I was 21,
Okay.
and I went in the Navy,
Okay.
and I met my daughter's mother when I was in the Navy. She was also in the Navy,
Okay.
and we ended up. I just made a decision that California wasn't quite right, and I wanted to raise my children somewhere else. So I went to. We came here to Iowa
What made you pick Iowa?
because she was from here.
Okay.
She was from Swisher, over by Cedar Rapids, small town.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we ended up going to Swisher and bought our first house and was raising our kids. And
There's some bars over there.
Well-
Because it's outside Iowa City, isn't it? A little
right.
bit?
Well, I always say it's a town of 600 people with 3 bars and no church. Is there a problem?
Really? No church?
No church.
All right. And so was your drug of choice alcohol?
Mine was meth.
Meth.
Yeah.
So drinking didn't impact you.
Well, I'm not saying it didn't impact me, but certainly it led me to some places that got me to the meth.
Okay. But you wouldn't consider yourself an alcoholic.
Not if it wasn't for the abuse that I had with the meth, I probably would be drinking today.
Okay. All right. And so tell me about when you tasted your first drink of alcohol or you smoked your first doobie or obviously meth wasn't the first thing you did.
No, those are both about the same thing. That occurred when I was in 5th grade.
Oh my.
I had a sitter that my mom had chose to watch us, and she gave us our first marijuana, and at that same time we were sneaking beer out of my grandfather's store and taking it down to the creek, going fishing and taking some beer with us. My brothers were older than me, not by much, so they were only a year older each.
I never even thought of a babysitter doing that. It's never even entered my mind. Now that's scaring me to death.
Till
Well-
right now.
Yeah.
She that was her way of controlling us.
Controlling,
Just
yeah.
give us some marijuana and let us do our thing. So you can imagine our brains didn't quite develop right.
Did your mother know that was going on?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
So she thought this person was a perfectly good
Yep.
person who was coming over. And was this obviously this wasn't just a nighttime babysitter. This was a regular babysitter?
Yeah, it was whenever my mom was doing her thing, which wasn't always the right thing, but when she was out and about.
Yeah. Can you expound upon that or you want to leave that alone?
Um,
Because obviously there's an influence there.
There is. My mom always chose men over me and my brothers.
Okay.
And to the point of I remember as a child, 4th grade, 5th grade, going to the truck stop and waiting in the car while she hopped up in the trucks.
Okay.
I wasn't there, so I don't know what she was doing or if she was making any money doing it, but we frequented there quite often.
Okay. And did she have a profession, a job that she went to?
She worked at our store. My grandparents owned a store, and she worked as a cashier there.
Her mom and dad.
Her mom and dad, yeah.
Is there abuse, drinking or drugs or anything in your mother's?
Everybody was a drinker.
Okay. And how about
But no drugs in as far as my grandparents or my parents or anything like that.
Okay, but there was alcohol several generations
Sure,
back.
yeah.
Okay. All right, and so your first memory, 5th grade, you're stealing beers and the babysitter's getting you high.
Right.
And when the babysitter would get you high, what would she do? Get high with you?
I don't know if you want me to tell you what she would do, but it
I
was
do.
with one of my brothers. She'd have sex with him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was too young. Otherwise, I'd probably been in line too.
Oh.
But yeah, she also took my brother's virginity, at least one of them, if not both of them.
Did your brothers end up involved in narcotics or alcohol?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep, everybody.
One of them went to prison for it. The other one, he still like smokes marijuana or whatever. I think they both still smoke marijuana. I'm the only one that decided that drugs are out. You know, because
That's
life
not-
is awesome today. So
Yeah, isn't it so much better? Yeah, I know.
but
It's
yeah,
amazing.
it definitely. We all went that route. I mean, I know that by the time I graduated high school, whatever drugs there were that were out there at that time, I had tried them.
Now, what about Dad?
My dad was not in the picture. He left when I was probably 8 years old. And for whatever reason at the time, he decided not to be dad and just leave. And he went back to Ohio, and I did not see him again until I went in the service. I located him, and I drove there right before I enlisted in the Navy.
Now, how'd you locate him? Because there was no
Through
Google.
through family.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and that's a part that kind of gets you is that, you know, I know that my mom knew how to get a hold of him all along, and so she just didn't pursue it.
So you saw him right before you went into the Navy.
Yep.
And was that a good reunion?
Yeah, it was really good. I say that he was an awesome grandparent,
Okay.
just not so much of a good dad.
Yeah.
But my kids loved him.
I think that's one way you say your amends to your children. I've seen that over and over.
Treat your grandchildren.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he passed away. But the time that he was in my life, it was a good thing.
Good. Okay. So in the Navy, I have these images, you know, of
In Idaho?
well, no, not in Idaho, but Navy boys going out drinking, drugging, having a good time
Well, I was in
Idaho.
I was in a nuclear program.
Okay.
And which required us to we were drug tested an awful lot.
Okay.
So drugs were not an issue when I was in the military. Alcohol, they had breathalyzers. You went through, in order for me to go to work, you went through a screening process. So you didn't go there, you didn't dare go hungover or smelling of alcohol or anything like that. So that was, I'm not saying the weekends weren't party hardy, but certainly during the week, that wasn't.
Were you manning a nuclear missile?
No, they used nuclear power to run the propulsion plant.
Okay.
And so I was a nuclear electrician. So I operated the electrical end of it, the electrical plant.
And did you learn that in the Navy? Did
Yes.
they teach you that?
Yep.
Would you trade your time in the Navy for anything?
No.
It was good for you?
No, it was good. And it set me up for a good job when I got out because I went to Palo, Iowa, and I worked at Duane Arnold Energy Center for about 10 years.
Okay.
So
All right.
that was a good thing.
John McInerney is our guest today. He is he's a case manager at Primary Healthcare, also works at Powell CDC, a Navy vet. We're going to continue to hear about his story and his life and what finally got him to drop the meth pipe and in your case, follow Jesus.
Absolutely.
But get clean, get sober, and surrender your life. Going to be a good hour. I'm glad you're here with us today. I'm J. Michael McCoy, if I haven't told you lately. Thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on Recovery Monday on 99.3 KTIA, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. All right, we're back. It's Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC on this Monday, the 27th day of January. If you happen to be listening to this and it's not the 27th day of January, then you're listening to one of our podcasts or a repeat program. That would make this one of the best of. Congratulations, John. And we sure thank you for taking the time to listen to a podcast, to roll it up. You can always find it over on Powell CDC's Facebook page and talk to Lila or myself, and the program's always available to you. All right. So you are how old when you get out of the Navy?
Boy, I was in for, let's see, I got out in 89, so I was 24.
All right. And you had met your first wife?
Yep.
And when did you get married?
In the service, 30 days after I met her.
Wow. Did that end up?
That's an addict.
Did that end up being a poor decision?
7 years later, I probably regretted it.
Okay. Well, 7 years isn't bad.
But we
though.
did last 7 years.
Yeah. And what was the challenge in that relationship?
I was never home. I was busy doing for other people, and I wasn't focused on home. And so the raising, it's not like I stepped out or I did anything like that, but we just didn't have a relationship anymore. And I spent the time, I was on the fire department, I was on the city council, I was on a club that's kind of like the JCs. I was doing for everybody else, but evidently wasn't getting home.
And when did the meth use start?
It really didn't start till my third marriage.
Okay.
And I'm on 5 now, by the way.
Okay. Thanks for telling me. So you got divorced at 30?
The first time?
Yeah.
No, because I got married in the service. So I really don't remember the years that I got married, because there were like 4 of them or 3 of them in there that were just so quick.
And did alcohol or drugs had anything to do with those?
I don't know. The alcohol, I wasn't. It was. I was able to do my job. I was able to do a lot of things. I thought at that time I was functioning, but I certainly. I mean, if I look at how I am today as compared to then, I am focused at my home life. That's first and foremost in my life. Back then, that wasn't the case.
Okay.
So whatever I was doing, it wasn't home.
Okay.
My third wife, during that time, we got introduced to meth.
Okay.
Or my third wife, yeah. Third and fourth, I was definitely using meth.
And how did your life change after you started using meth?
I was very. It was my focus. It ended up being. It started out. I was I had gotten away from Duane Arnold Energy Center. I had took a layoff. I was doing other jobs. I got into construction, selling construction materials, stuff like that, and it just kind of evolved. And when I was out doing sales, I would go out and I would use the meth so that I could drink longer and work more and stay up later and whatnot and stay on the road longer.
So meth for you was just an upper speed?
Yep, absolutely.
And this was something you smoked?
At that time, it's funny, I didn't realize you could smoke it. At that time, I snorted it.
Okay.
And that was it was before, I had never seen crystal yet. It was all the old lousy tasting stuff that,
Yeah.
And I just snorted it.
Where'd you get it?
He's not going to. What do you
Why
want?
don't-
An
I don't-
address?
why- no, I don't want
Frank,
an address.
2810
Yeah.
Main Street.
No, was it the same people all the time that
No.
were making it, or you just just hear about it and you just
No, there was, when I first started out, it was one person because
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about dealers,
Yeah.
because when I was doing drugs when I was younger, that was, it was just somebody either had it. I never
Yeah.
went and bought it. I never
Right.
looked for it. It wasn't like I was predisposed,
Right.
I gotta have it.
yeah.
And even when I first started doing meth, it wasn't that way either. It was if somebody had it. When I became a salesman, then I started this, I had to have it. And I would get it at through strippers, stuff like that.
While you're married.
Yeah.
Did you marry a stripper?
No,
No.
did not.
All right. So bring me to the point in your life in which 4 marriages had dissolved. Your drug use was getting you in all kinds of trouble. What kind of trouble did you get into? Did you end up in the
Never once did I get arrested.
Okay.
But what happened to me was when my dad passed away, he was in Ohio and my mom lived out in California still. And there was something I just wanted to be closer to her. And I'd been using drugs here and I needed to get away from it. So I packed everything up in a U-Haul. I had my brand new boat, a 24-foot Mariah, and away I went out to California with all your whistles and bells and toys and material things. And I was out there to be closer to my mom. Well,
Any family go with you?
my family's out. You mean like my children?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to pack them. That was the problem. So when I got out there, then I became really, really depressed and life. I also suffer from mental health. I suffer from bipolar.
Okay.
And when I was out there, within 3 years, I lost everything material-wise.
And where was your wife and kids?
I was single at the time.
Okay.
My children lived here in Iowa. And so I went to be with my family, my prior, not the family I'm growing, but the family that grew me.
Right. Okay.
And so I'm back out there. And I remember I knew something was wrong when I moved into my brother's house. And before I had got there, he had hauled a load of my stuff to his house. And before I had gotten there, he had already started going through it, taking stuff. So he was stealing from me from the word go.
That's
And
too bad.
within 3 years, I had nothing left.
And just all on drugs and
And I had also couldn't hold down a job. Before that, I could get any job and I could hold it and it was not a problem. When I went out to California, it just got worse and worse and worse.
So you pawned things, sold things?
Pawned things, lost it, it got stolen from me. I did my share of stealing.
Okay.
I'm not a saint. I'm an unconvicted felon. One of the reasons why I left California was because I was afraid of going to prison.
Yeah. John McInerney is our guest today, and he's now part of the Powell Group that helps people recover from life's hurts, habits, and hangups. He's a case manager for primary health care in which you help veterans.
Yep.
And I want to go down that road a little bit later about that work, but let's finish up this. So what was the last straw? What was the thing in which you surrendered and said, I need to get out of this life?
My middle daughter, Bobby, sent me an email because now we're in email era.
All right, and she's how old at this time? Yes.
Around 18.
Okay.
And she sent me a letter because I was complaining about how life sucked out in California. I was just miserable. I mean, I was just emotionally gone. I had given myself a hernia from internalizing everything.
Wow.
I mean, I remember being in the kitchen and I just stiffened up so hard, crying, pop. So I'm reaching out to my kids, life is awful here. I don't know what to do. I had tried to kill myself 3 times. I hung myself once, OD'd a couple times, spent many a day walking down a curvy road hoping to be hit. I had written a letter put it in my pants that said, if you're the person who hit me, I'm sorry, but I was out here so you could.
Wow.
I wanted to die. It hurt so bad. My life, I couldn't take it. And my daughter sent me a letter when I'm complaining about all this. And she said, Dad, if your life is so awful out there, why don't you, and she used a few words, but basically come back to Iowa where you belong.
Yeah.
And she was right.
This story is amazing because if you knew John today, I mean, I had no idea that this was your story at all. You just seem so together and so willing to help other people. And now it makes sense why you understand so many, really.
Well,
You do a really good job of that.
it's either use it or allow it to tear me up.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because that same daughter, Bobby, so she writes me this letter. I come out here, and I mean, it's a story in itself, how amazing. I went to, I committed myself in Cedar Rapids. They decided there was no money in it for them at the hospital because I'm homeless. Mm-hmm. So they sent me to Iowa City because they found out I was a vet. The hospital there made arrangements for me to come to Knoxville. I went through a program there for 45 days, and then I went to the 180 house here in Des Moines, which is a grant and per diem program for the veterans. And I spent 8 months there. And all of this was because of God. I
Hadn't heard his name yet.
Well, and I skipped over a really important day. When I was in Knoxville, I was with a pastor, or a father, or don't even know which,
Okay.
where he
Man
was,
of the cloth.
Man of the cloth, definitely. And he was showing me around the church and whatnot. And then he took me to this little room and he said, hey, if you ever want to pray, this is kind of a neat little room you can go into. And so he let me in there, or we were standing in there, and he goes, and so this concludes my interview or my trip showing you around. He goes, I'm just going to leave you be here. And he walked out and shut the door. When he did that, I hit my knees, and like a cowering dog, I cried to God.
First time ever?
Ever. I mean, I had tried church before, but I'd never felt God.
Yeah.
Like his presence, like that I felt that day. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're at your lowest, he's at his strongest. And he lifted me up, and I just said, God, please put people in my life to do things for me. I will not try and take my life. I'll try not to hurry my time here on earth. Please just put people in my life to help make my decisions, because I can't do it. And sure enough, I took everybody's suggestion, and that's where I'm at today. When I was at the 180 house, there was my caseworker had went, listening to her story, she had went to Drake and got her bachelor's in psychology and went to the University of Iowa and got her master's in social work. Guess what I did?
Went to Drake and
Went to Drake, got my bachelor's in psychology, and now I'm at Iowa getting my master's in social work.
Good for you.
Because these things happen, they come in front of me.
And if I just want to, I don't mean to embarrass you, but in your 4.0.
Right.
Yeah. 4.0 at the University of Iowa. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So I know I'm asking a rhetorical question here, but I want to hear your words, not mine. You said you felt God.
Yeah.
Try to describe that in colors or comfort or pain or however you can.
You know, I remember crying so hard, but at the same time feeling so okay.
Relieved?
Yeah. It was like a burden was lifted off my shoulders, saying, you know the saying where it says, let go, let God.
Yeah.
Okay. And I tell people to wake up in the morning and just give the day away.
Yeah.
Well, I did that. Nobody had told me that. I just did it. And now I know what that really means, because I had just let it go to him. And wow.
Would you say that was a spiritual awakening?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Probably more to come, spiritual experiences as well as awakenings. John McInerney is our guest. We will continue with John, along with Lila and Bob and Ryan. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on Recovery Monday on 99.3 KTIA, powered by WebcastOneLive.com. Brought to you by Powell CDC.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I am administrative manager
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
We're back on this Recovery Monday here live on 99.3 KTIA. Our guest is John McInerney. And so you're in this room at Vets Hospital in Knoxville, and you feel the overwhelming sense and we didn't talk about this off mic, but would you now call that the Holy Spirit entering you?
Absolutely.
That was the moment in which you were saved,
Absolutely.
died to self, and born again.
Yep.
So tell me how your life changed at that point.
Well, I like earlier we talked about how one thing that happened was now when I do things that aren't right, I feel bad for them.
Okay.
And I didn't have that sense before. Before, when I would harm people, it was me harming people. It was no big deal. When I abused people or I took advantage or whatever it was, there was no remorse for it. And now I do have that. That's a huge change in my life. The other thing is, it gave me an opportunity to, where I had not raised my children around God, my children started seeing that in my life. The way I had changed, the way I was going to church, the way I was speaking. The saying, swear like a sailor, certainly was me.
Mm-hmm.
And that went away.
Mm-hmm.
Doing stuff for other people before doing it for me. Asking somebody else if they want something to drink instead of me waiting to be waited on. Serving others. My life just little by little started changing in the right direction. So those are big things. And then introducing God to my children. And I remember one time I really got hurt after I had introduced my daughter. We were watching a speaker once, and he was talking about forgiveness. And we were there together. And it was when she was just learning about God. And he said, I want you to think to yourself, and I want you to raise your hand if you can think of the last person that hurt you. And so a bunch of people raised their hand, and my daughter raised her hand, and I didn't raise my hand because I couldn't think of the last time somebody had hurt me. And he said, see, those of you that can remember, you probably haven't forgiven that person because they're still on your mind, and it's so quick. And so afterwards, when I was talking to my daughter, I said, hey, Bobby, I said, I noticed that you still had your hand raised. And I said, I really think that it would be good for you to work on forgiveness. And she goes, what if I'm not ready to forgive? And I go, well, that's something maybe you should work on. Well, lo and behold, guess who she wasn't ready to forgive?
You.
Absolutely. Wow. Did God slap me in the forehead that day?
Yeah.
It wasn't my time to be trying to teach her. It was somebody else's time to teach her. And here I am also thinking that, hey, I'm saved. I know this. I know that. Let me do that. Well, I was the guy that destroyed my daughter's life. I didn't go to her graduation. I wasn't there for her in high school. Those were her high school years that she didn't have a dad. Mm-hmm. Of all my children, she's the one that also got into drugs and drank. And
does she today?
No, absolutely not.
Does she live here in town today?
Nope. She lives in Dubuque.
Dubuque, okay.
And she's engaged.
Oh.
You like him?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So, but you have other kids.
Yes.
Any of that age that went through this with you that needed to forgive you and did easily or easier? I would say my youngest daughter did, just because either that or she just hit it. You know, she never... I think of I have 3 daughters, the middle daughter, Bobby. So Amy's my oldest one, and she got married. And Bobby and Kathy. Bobby's the one that it really affected the most. And I think the reason for that was because it was during her high school years.
Yeah.
And I missed her graduation. You know, what I heard from her was, Dad, I know it's expensive for you to come out because I was living in California when she graduated. It would be expensive for you to come out. Don't worry about it. But in reality, what she was saying was, Dad, I really don't want you at my graduation.
Oh.
Wow. The youngest or Bobby?
Bobby, my middle daughter.
So how old was she when you moved?
Probably a freshman.
Okay, so this was 2 years while you were gone in California, that your life went to heck in a handbasket, and she
Right.
was pretty upset.
Right.
Did you think you had a close relationship before you left?
Yes.
Why didn't you take her with you?
Because they were living with their mom.
Okay.
And, I thought, here I am a numbers guy, and I'm thinking, well, I only get to see him every other weekend. And so if, I fly them out, if I fly them out, because I actually had transferred a job from here to California, so I was making decent money. And I thought, well, if I can fly them out, or I fly back every other month and I spend a few days, it ends up being about the same amount of time.
Yeah.
So I reasoned myself to why it's okay to leave your children, like my dad did me when I was 8.
Yeah, right.
And I'm now doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I wonder why it hurt.
So tell me a little bit about the transformation that Christ did in your life as you surrendered to him.
Well, the biggest thing was I quit trying to control everything, and I was way more willing to just give things up to God. I know that, for example, when I tried to go back to school, well, Drake's not a cheap school to go to.
No.
Yet, for some reason, the numbers worked out financially so that I didn't have to pay anything. I mean, I was able to do it with student loans, but it was enough to make it.
Yeah.
I got a job immediately at the school, so I didn't have to pay for food because I was working in the cafeteria at least 2 meals a day. Well, that's enough. I was letting God run my life, and I was just giving it up to him. That's
And
the
you didn't have a
biggest thing.
problem trusting that God would lead you ever since you were in that.
That little room.
Yeah, you didn't have a problem trusting.
From that point forward, everything went right.
Yeah.
Even today they talk about at the 180 house, they didn't want me.
Really?
No. I was that guy that was that close to a noose. They didn't want some suicide risk,
Yeah.
somebody with mental health. They hadn't had anybody with the depression that I had gone through in the past, not understanding that God had me. And I mean, when I was in Knoxville, things just really, really changed.
Wow.
And and I honestly say that recovery for me was really simple. Stopping meth was probably one of the easiest things I ever did.
Because you had God.
Huh?
Because you had God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know that every time I would pray, I mean, before my prayer was over, if I had a craving, it was gone. Every single time. Never, ever failed.
I tell people that all the time when they're craving things, just get on your knees.
Right.
And ask. And so many, it took me 20 years to get on my knees, but when I did, it really worked. But I hear people say it and I think, oh, that's for other people. It's not really for me. Or that's for really religious people. I would make up all kinds of excuses why I didn't want to get on my knees, but it really works.
Are you saying physically get on your knees or just pray to
no,
God?
No, physically get on my knees. It made all the difference in the world. And I did the same thing you did when you were in that place. The first time I got on my knees, I just started bawling. And I felt this connection with God that was overwhelming.
See, that's really funny. I was raised Episcopalian. And so I would tell you that getting on my knees is religious, not spiritual. Does that make sense? And I know the Bible talks about dropping to your knees.
Well,
but as an Episcopalian or a Catholic or whatever, you're on your knees so much.
On that day in that room, he put me on my knees.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It wasn't me going, here, God, let me get down here and pray to you. I dropped. It was such an overwhelming day. I came out of there a new person. It was just.
You're in a humbling state when you're on your knees.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take our last break. We'll come back, find out what John's life is like now. This is Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC on 99.3 KTIA, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right, we are back on Recovery Monday on 99.3 KTIA. Thanks for being here. Of course, this show brought to you by Powell CDC, and we thank you for being a part of it. If you are watching this on a podcast, we thank you for taking the time to download them. They are on the Powell CDC Facebook. Are they anywhere else yet? They're not on the website yet.
No, but we were calling about that today. It'll be probably by the end of February.
Okay,
it will
good.
be.
And if you or someone that you love has some type of addiction problem or a habit, a hurt, a hang-up, calling Powell CDC does not trip some alarm where funny men in white coats come running out and grab you or whoever you're talking about. It is a relaxed, it is a patient process in which everybody's best needs are at the top of Powell's concern list. Now, maybe sometimes it's rough because somebody's out of control and they need to be put in detox, and that's never fun, but that's the beginning. God will meet you where you're at. Not to compare Powell to God, but Powell will meet you where you're at with the needs that you have. There is no automatic set of instructions in how to get you there. If you're a person of faith, then God will take care of that plan, and it will be His will, and Powell is there to accommodate God's will in bringing you into treatment.
Can I give you the phone number?
Yeah, please do.
Hey, it's area code 515-263-2424.
Okay. And there's people standing by that are willing to talk to people.
Yes.
All right. So what's your life like now? How long have you been married to your new bride?
Well, we just got married in June.
Okay.
So not a year yet.
Still newlyweds?
Yep, absolutely. Live in Ames. What's life like now? It's drama-free.
Yeah. That's hard to get used to,
That's
I think.
really weird. I'm not saying that life doesn't come on its way, but but the thing is that I'm not causing it.
Yeah.
I'm not creating excess drama. I don't chase the material things anymore. I don't chase the money. It's not that I don't want to make enough money to live and provide for my family, because I certainly do. But at the same time, I put more emphasis on serving than anything else.
That's where your heart's filled.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest difference is I'm not serving myself or material things. I'm serving others.
Yeah.
And my job, I mean, how awesome is that? Every chance I can help to get a veteran off the streets of Des Moines and get them into housing.
Yeah.
So the program I work with at Primary Healthcare is Supportive Services for Veteran Families. And it's a veteran paid program, but they give grants to nonprofit organizations such as Primary Healthcare. And so we use veteran VA dollars to help house homeless.
And we are getting more and more and more and more vets returning, which kind of surprised me. They closed Knoxville, especially with Iowa being the largest state per capita, right, of Reserve and National Guard men and women who served in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I don't know about those numbers, but that sounds about right because there's an awful lot of them, and our veterans have to be medically eligible, so they have to have served more than a couple years in the service.
Yeah.
But it still gives them an option that they didn't have before, and I didn't know about it before because there wasn't a program for me before, and that was one of the biggest things that I missed. I probably wouldn't have had to go through as much as I did had I known of all the services that the VA has to offer for veterans. Because I hear a lot where the VA doesn't do enough, and I say that the VA does an awful lot because I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen
But maybe they
numerous
don't do
programs.
enough to publicize what they do.
Well, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's hard to see what's afforded to a veteran because it doesn't all come from one location.
Yeah.
Does around, but just for a minute, my big toe, has that changed in the Obama administration?
I do not know. I know that, SSVF happened during Obama's reign. So
SSVF.
the program that I'm work under, Supportive
Okay.
Services for Veteran Families.
Okay.
That happened during Obama.
Okay.
So he has done that.
He did it, or it just went into.
I couldn't tell you whether
how the
he was in the
legislation
card
came
or it.
around. Okay.
I just know it happened, and it's
Yeah.
a good thing, and I'm happy for it.
Yeah.
So what do you say to a father out there? Let's start with the father. What do you say to a father out there who has an adult child who has fairly significant resentments against them from their childhood? Doesn't have to be drugs, doesn't have to be alcohol, but it's just not a good situation.
Well, I think you have to address the elephant in the room, and you have to try and talk it out. You can't ignore it. It's there. And sometimes that's hard to do. That's one of the nice things that PAL does that I thought was amazing when I started interning there was the family program that they have by having somebody there, a counselor, to work some of those issues out, to be able to talk with both parties. Because I didn't know how to address that with my children. I mean, it happened. Mine happened through God.
Right.
That's how we were able to. My daughter that I thought hated me now loves me to pieces. And I walk in the room and she'll come charging, jumping over a couch to jump into my arms and hug me. She never did that before I used. I mean, it's so God was that piece that mended my fence.
When did it go from God to Christ for you?
As I learned, once I started going studying the Bible.
Okay.
And so when I was at Drake, and I did Bible study while I was going to Drake with some of the students there. I was the oldest one, but but I started doing Bible study and just trying to tear the Bible apart because before I had never really dug into it, not realizing what his instructions had for us.
Okay.
And that also aids in forgiveness. It also, if I want to be like Christ, which is what I want to be like, I want to serve other people. And that's what I do today. And that's the difference. I think that's part of my recovery is wanting to be Christ-like.
Yeah. Well, you have a wonderful story. And thanks for sharing it. You did it zealously, and I appreciate that. You did a good job picking this one. And so you're welcome back anytime. Anytime you find someone out there who's got a great story to share, and it'll impact somebody else's life like your story would, I invite you to call me and bring them on this program.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back, too. Maybe when you're gone, you could have John come in sometime and co-host with us. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Recovery Monday on this day. Don't forget that we are less than 2 weeks away from our Marriage Matters Marriage Weekend on Friday, February 14th and Saturday, February 15th at Grace Church. That's the big church out east on 235. It'll be Friday night and Saturday. Guys, the food will be spectacular. It's $69 a couple, and you're going to learn one thing, that marriage isn't for you anymore. Yep, at a marriage seminar, you're going to learn marriage isn't for you anymore. Who's it for? We'll talk about that next time we see each other here on KTIA, Iowa